prep this thing to go into the oven, which we go over here. All right, now, you can do this alone. Or if you're lucky, you have a sous chef. Christina! This is a better job done with 2 people and with wine, as we've established. All right, now by the way, I should point out, this is how it should look when we're done. See the difference?
The weight should go away.
Look, this cost me $8.99 on Amazon and I need to make it a business expense. This is what we're going for. Okay. The reason this is easier with 2 people is because my hands are still a little bit dirty, and it's better if you have one person with clean hands who's gonna help pour all of the stuff like the olive oil and the salt and the pepper and the herbs, if you're gonna use them, all over the turkey as we go. So, yes, please remove the expensive jewelry as well. Make sure your assistant does that before the $1,000 ring winds up inside the cavity of the turkey.
Yes, sir.
Ready?
Ready.
Olive oil.
I'm gonna just pour in. Oh, it's already off.
Salt, pepper.
Okay.
Okay. First things. Cavity up. We're gonna go olive oil in there.
How much?
About a tablespoon. That's good enough. And then I'm gonna fist this little slut again, rubbing it
I feel a little
around.
threatened.
Are you triggered?
No, like I'm jealous of
More
the
oil.
bird.
Hello, she's jealous of the bird. Good, another tablespoon. Yeah, good. And you're doing, this is the rack we're gonna cook it in, so everything that rolls out into the bottom, that's fine. We want that because we're gonna want that to use that as aromatic flavor. Salt now, please.
How much?
Put it in my hand. About a tablespoon.
Whoops.
Or 3 tablespoons.
Give me some.
Hold that for later. Okay. Then you just take this, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna go in here and you're gonna rub it along the linings. Remember, this is breast meat. So what you're doing here on the bottom is there's actually breast meat here that's getting touched by the salt. You want that in there. And you're just gonna rub a little bit on the bottom as well. And then we're gonna do the same thing with pepper.
Sorry. Same amount?
This is part, yeah, well, the same amount that I wanted originally, a little bit more
That's
than
like
that.
a teaspoon.
This is part of the fun of this. That's good.
There you go.
Same thing, fist that bird, rub it along the walls, and oh yeah, you are a slut. All right, now, since we have the cavity open, we're gonna go to the mirepoix. Remember this? This was our collection of herbs and vegetables, and we're gonna shove this into the cavity. This is by some fresh rosemary as well. You can do sage, you can do whatever flavors you want. The only point to this is aromatic flavor, and some of this flavor will cook into the bird. And as you're shoving it in here and stuff falls out, that's okay because we're gonna line the rest of the pan at the bottom with whatever we don't shove in here. I also use some fresh lemons. Top it off if you can. Right about there, okay? Cavity filled with mirepoix. Okay, now, back. By the way, the rest of this, whenever you're ready, up,
Put it in there.
goes right in the bottom. For the same reason, it'll add aromatics. Before we cook it, we're gonna throw some broth down there as well. Now we get to the outside. Here's the trick. You wanna be really careful to not break the skin. You wanna take your finger, and you wanna create a nice little opening here under the skin, touching the breast. Now, why do we do this? Here's why. This is such an important part of cooking a great turkey. Most people at this point pour olive oil all over the turkey, salt and pepper, whatever seasonings they're gonna be using, and then they cook it. Well, here's the problem with that. While everybody loves skin, not everybody gets a piece of skin in every bite. The meat is under the skin. What we wanna actually flavor is the meat. And again, this is the breast right here. This is what most people love, the white meat. We're gonna season the dark meat a little bit, but the reason most people like dark meat is it's richer and it already comes with its own flavor, so we don't need to flavor that. Think about it, white meat turkey is pretty bland if you don't flavor it. So how do we flavor it? This is the trick. You have to find a way, and you gotta be gentle, because the skin also protects the meat from burning. You can't just shove your hand in there, you can't rip open the skin, you're gonna get a bunch of burnt skin, and that's no good. So you wanna very gently use a finger to guide yourself under the skin. Use one hand to hold the skin back like this, and the other finger or fingers to start to create some openings that you're going to use to get in there. And you gotta do it the same from the other end of the bird, which is a little tougher, by the way. You're gonna get your whole hand in there. You're gonna try to find your way to the meat without poking your way through the skin. Okay, you can see my fingers. I'm not poking my way through the skin, but I am opening that membrane, or whatever that is technically, See? Skin's still there, but my fingers are touching the breast, touching the meat. That's important because that's where we're gonna put a bunch of flavorings here in a second, which is gonna make your meat so good. Hello. Hello. This is the epitome of the creepy fingers. Hello. Hello, turkey. Hello. By the way, if you do, I've done this a million times. As we tell you in the opening, I've screwed up so many dishes, don't worry about it. If you rip this, it's not the end of the world. You can use toothpicks to try to hold it back together.
Remember that last year? We had a bunch of rippy. It was still amazing.
Anything from last year.
But yeah, well.
I've cut an entire stick of butter into these little slabs. We're gonna slide these in under the skin to touch the breast. That is to add, first of all, to the juiciness, the flavorfulness, and keep it from getting dry. And this is a process. You slide them in, okay? And then you push them along, okay? And you're just gonna do this with every piece from both sides. It's okay that you see them, because remember, what's gonna happen is as this cooks, this is gonna melt. Where's it gonna melt? Right into the meat. You just keep moving it with your fingers from the outside. And remember, we have to go in through the back door as well. Hello. You always have to be well lubricated when you're going in through the back door.
Isn't that the front where the head is?
Don't ruin the bit. By the way, notice how dirty you get. This is how it works. Notice also I'm trying to not touch anything else because I'm covered in raw turkey, i.e. to potential bacteria. So just be smart when you're doing this. Don't get all grossed out. Don't be a girl. Okay, so once you get it in there, we can now move it around a little bit. Remember, as it melts, it's gonna move around, okay? Okay. So you've got the butter in there, but we still haven't actually seasoned the skin. We're gonna go back to the salt.
No olive oil?
Not under the
slippery.
skin.
Tell me when.
When? So what we're doing here, we're taking this, same thing. We're gonna go in here, under the skin with the olive oil, or I'm sorry, with the salt. We're kind of spreading the salt around. And this is a labor of love and patience and gentility to spread it around, because you don't want too much salt on one piece. I'm gonna try to do it on only a couple fingers here, so as I finger the bird, I have a little bit more leeway. Because if you try to shove too many fingers in here, you're gonna break that skin. You don't wanna do that. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get the salt right on the skin, around those butter patties, and we're gonna mix this all up later from the top. This is just to spread out the seasonings. Thank you. Again, you can see how much easier this is with an assistant. If you're doing this yourself, you can, but keep in mind when you touch those containers, you're touching them with raw turkey hands, and those things have to be washed as well. All right, we're gonna move to the pepper, please.
All right.
Same idea, about a teaspoon every time, and then you just try to spread it around inside as best you can. You can start wherever you want, just remembering where you are. And then as you wipe it off, I just put it on the skin because that's when it's gonna go later. Could you grab the herbs de Provence? I'm gonna add in a little extra flavor because I like the flavor of the herbs de Provence. It's a nice mild lavender rosemary thing. Yeah, that's raw turkey on my face. Pay no
I think it's
attention to that.
olive oil.
And again, same thing. Just like the salt and pepper, we're rubbing it right on the turkey breast. In fact, let's see if we can get a shot there. The herbs are right on the breast. That is right on the meat of what we're looking for. The whole point of that is that flavor will cook in. Okay, at this point I'm fine with it. So now what I do is I kind of massage the bird a little bit. We're spreading around the butter, which because we're at room temperature is already starting to melt just a little bit, which is good. And we're spreading around those seasonings that we put in there. Now you'll notice in my case, I don't deal with the dark meat. I don't deal with the wings and I don't deal with the drumsticks because again, people that like dark meat usually like it to taste like dark meat. If you want to try to season it, go for it. It's the same mentality, same theory. If you're going to inject your bird, a lot of people like to inject their bird with a marinade, or you know, another great trick, if you don't want to inject it with a marinade, that's usually done for like deep frying, but you can also inject it just with like chicken broth or apple cider. You can just take it and you just shove it again right into the meat. Don't go through the skin. You don't want to pop the skin. Just inject it through the meat, and that adds another layer of juiciness and flavor as well. So next, now that we've got the inside of the bird done, we want to get the outside of the bird prepped, and there's a couple different ways you can go. If you're doing this on, say, Tuesday or Wednesday morning, what I do at this point is it goes right in the fridge and it sits overnight to crisp up the skin. And then we proceed to the next step. Either way, consult the recipe, figure out what you want to do. We're gonna pretend that it's Thursday and we're getting ready to put it in the oven. So now we're gonna go to the olive oil. And hopefully you have an assistant who doesn't have salmonella hands, even though we know she does already. We're just gonna pour the olive oil up here, and I'm gonna massage the bird so that it gets nice and brown. The olive oil, more than anything, protects the skin and adds a nice browning flavor. More, please. You can use butter, melted butter, if you want, which just adds another level of browning. The olive oil will burn or start to burn at over 400 degrees, but not burn in a bad way, just start to brown up and crisp up.
More?
And if you want to worry about the backside, you can. I don't know why you would. We don't really take meat from the back unless you're kind of psychotic. I've never heard anybody request the turkey back.
Meat.
Yeah, I want the back meat. You slice me off a slice of that. All right, now that should be plenty of olive oil on the outside. Now we're gonna add some seasonings to the outside. Keep in mind, this is borderline worthless other than people that eat the skin. This is one of the big misconceptions. All the flavor is inside here in the meat, but we want it to look pretty when it comes out. So we're gonna go ahead and grab some salt. And for people that love turkey, or turkey skin rather.
Just coat your fingers?
Yeah, just coat my fingers. That's probably about a tablespoon, and that's good. And then we're just gonna rub that in. Okay, so that when you do get a bite of the skin, it's nice and flavorful and a little salty. And pepper? No, pepper.
Oh.
Good, thank you. Oh, I noticed she gives me a little bit more of the black stuff than the white stuff. Interesting. Okay, again, this is mainly for appearance and a little flavoring of the skin. Hello. See how that's nice and spread out? Good. Broth.
Broth.
I'm not gonna touch it because I have all salmonella hands. We're just gonna pour the broth into the bottom of the pan. That's gonna provide some nice aromatics. It's not gonna boil the turkey, please.
Sorry. He's used to me interrupting him.
I'll say. As the turkey cooks, you're gonna wanna keep an eye on that. You don't want the can to get overly dried out, especially in the first 30 minutes, because we're gonna sear this thing at 500 degrees for the first 30 minutes, and that's when a lot of that liquid will evaporate, and you just wanna keep this dry. If you don't wanna use chicken stock, you can use water, it's fine. It's just to keep a little bit of moisture going. Now, I do wanna show you one trick that happens in the process of the cooking that we get a lot of questions about, because I don't wanna interrupt the bird while we're actually cooking it. So if you notice the recipe, what we do is we cook the bird for about 30 minutes, depending on the size of the turkey, at 500 degrees. And then we turn the oven way down and we slow roast it. And as you'll see in the recipe, there's no such thing as a pounds per minute formula. Anybody that tells you there is an idiot. It's really based on your oven, the size of the bird, your altitude, things like that. What we're going for is a temperature, ultimately, in the breast meat and the dark meat, which is noted in the recipe. I think it's 155, 175. Don't quote me on that. Look at the recipe. Because you want it to cook to a certain temperature, then you're going to let it rest, and it's going to finish cooking so that it's a nice medium to medium rare, but still safe and no salmonella. But one of the things that a lot of people question about the recipe is, oh my God, Rob, you say after we sear it, I have to put a triangle of aluminum foil over the breast. It's not an origami thing. It's not a geometry thing. So let's pretend we've seared this for 30 minutes. All you have to do is take some aluminum foil. All we're looking to do is cover the breast so that it doesn't burn, because it's already going to be starting to brown after that 30 minutes at 500 degrees. We just want to protect it. And what you can do is just simply, notice it's not really a triangle the way we describe it in the recipe. We're just covering the breast. It's literally that simple. You can use the wings to tuck it in, the drumsticks to tuck it in. Boom, your breast is protected. Don't do this now. This is what you do after 30 minutes of searing. I just didn't want to waste your time, or mine quite honestly, to show you what it's going to look like after those first 30 minutes. When you pull it out and you get to that step in the recipe, this is all you have to do. I guess it's kind of a triangle. I mean, if you look at it.
It's like a turkey bra.
Yeah, it's a turkey bra.
Turkey bra.
Somebody patent that. Quick, call the attorney. Turkey bra. What we're going to do now is we're going to put it in the oven, and we're going to put it breast side in, leg side out. I don't know why, just because I said so. Oven's preheated to 500 degrees. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Don't throw your back out, baby.
Breast side in, leg side out. Oven's big enough. Boom, done. Let it go for 30 minutes, then you put the triangle on it, then consult the recipe, then you get into that whole thing of you lower the temperature of the oven, and then you give it an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. Use a meat thermometer. Don't be afraid. I'll show you how that process works, and then you'll get the perfect turkey. All right, so we've seared our turkey at 500 degrees for about 30 minutes. We put that aluminum foil triangle over it, like I promised you. And now it's been cooking in there for between an hour and a half and 2.5 hours. Remember, you gotta check your turkey. Check it for temperature. Then that way you know, oh my God, I need to increase the amount of heat that I'm giving it. Oh, I need to slow it down. There's no formula. What I was cooking for you was a 14-pound turkey at about 325. But let's see how we did. Woo! Look at that! Just like we hoped! Hot, 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 hot! Awesome. Were you That's so dumb. Okay, so now, no, for real, seriously, we really have been cooking this turkey for a couple of hours. So you gotta go in here, you gotta pull out your bird. Oh, hello. Looks good. That's the beautiful coloring that we want. We have the nice deep dark stock that's down there as well. It's been aromatically flavoring it. You're gonna take your digital meat thermometer, or whatever meat thermometer you have. I like digital because they're much more reliable. You're gonna slide it into a part of the breast, because that's the most important part as far as I'm concerned. What we're going for here is 155 degrees, because then you're gonna pull it out, let it rest, and it's gonna raise in temperature to about that 160, 165 mark. If you're a dark meat person, you want it to be at 175 at this point, because you don't wanna overcook it. That's how you get dry turkey. Everybody gets so freaked out about the temperature of their bird. Oh my God, it's gotta be 165 degrees. No, and remember, let your thermometer calibrate and get to the exact point where you want it. Boom, 156. That's exactly what we want, plus a degree. Time to pull it out. And now, let it rest. Now you can do a couple things at this point. You can cover it with foil. If you have a lid for the roasting pan to keep the heat in, you can. Keep in mind, if you do that, that you're also gonna be encompassing the heat. So one trick you could do, like if you did the measurement like I just did and it came in at 152 degrees, then I would put a lid on it to try to help steam it up to that 160-ish level that you want. Because this is perfectly cooked, I'm just gonna let it sit out here for 5 to 15 minutes. Now people get freaked out about that, because, oh my God, my turkey's gonna be cold, turkey's gonna be cold. Here's what happens. Yeah, what you ultimately wind up serving is kind of like a room temperature turkey, but remember, you have hot mashed potatoes, hot gravy. There's a variety of ways that you can offset that, and people don't bitch about the one thing they care about most, moist turkey. And I promise you, that's what this is gonna be. Let this sit for about 5 to 15 minutes, carve it, serve it, you're done. Perfect Thanksgiving dinner.